Leicester is a great case study in how diversity is our strength. Now, you know that more than anyone, don't you, Cameron? You promote diversity on Twitter all day, every day, do you not? Before we start, though, let's talk about what diversity means.
What does it mean to you?
Well, Simon Webb has sent an article today asking, well, does it mean blacks only? If you scroll down a little bit on this, John,
that's brave.
Just this first quote, as you can see here, we've set a goal complementing our broader 2018 Black, Asian and minority ethnic target to specifically increase black representation in senior roles from 0.6% to 3% by 2025. But that's the point, isn't it? The concept of diversity, and lots and lots of people have observed this, seems to mean non-white.
But why? I don't get to what end. What is the point of diversity? Why do they want a target to increase black representation? Why do they want to see more black people in these roles? Are they suggesting that they're different somehow because of the colour of their skin? What is it that they get from this?
I'm going to guess it's about the problem of equality, because they will say something like, well, the black people in England represent 3% of the population, but are 0.6% of senior grades here, and therefore they must be being treated unequally.
But we have equality under the law, so that's clearly not true.
Well, they would say, well, that's a sign of the nefarious and hard to pin down institutional racism that is subconscious bias.
But it's just stupid that we want these visual representations of what the demographics of the country are. If we want people to be part of one nation, living together, surely it shouldn't matter what colour their skin is.
Well, I mean, I agree with that completely, but they don't.
No.
They're furious.
These targets all over the place,
Yes.
and it's just positive discrimination, isn't it? It's affirmative action.
But now they have what they want. They want the, again, it's like they view non-white people as being in some kind of a union.
And it is about non-white, isn't it? Diversity, because now we have these areas of the country that white people are a minority,
Yes.
and we have, well, Christians are a minority in the country, but will we be protected as a minority protected group?
Will there be affirmative action for
of course there will.
Christian representation? Now you're a minority group.
But we should fight for that. We should use their own blooming weapons against them.
Exactly. What would their argument be? You're not allowed to demand white representation in Leicester because you're, what, the majority? Not anymore.
Yeah.
You can't make that claim. So what's your defence on this? So let's take a look at Leicester. So Leicester has become one of the first cities in the UK where people identifying as white are no longer the majority, the latest census shows. They say that 41% of the city have described themselves as white. Well, I went and looked into the data a little more granularly, and actually only 33.2% identify as English, or white British, they say on the census. So actually, there's about 9% who are going to be European. So not British. Yeah. So again, the term white being used to conceal the real state of things, frankly. And so the BBC spoke to 4 people in Leicester who welcomed the news. Dance teacher Demi Essex says, quote, "I feel privileged being in a city that holds so much diversity and inclusivity as well."
Why is diversity equated with inclusivity as well? What's that?
She doesn't say. Varna Frederick and her son Bernard Francis arrived in the city in 1960 as part of the Windrush generation. I'm happy to see Leicester achieve, but I'm not happy to see what we have achieved. It feels like people from Afro-Caribbean backgrounds in Leicester are still being discriminated against. Well, by who?
I love when people say it feels like as well.
Yes.
In what way does it feel like that?
But are they being discriminated by the white majority? Oh no. There is no white majority.
No. So who's discriminating them?
Exactly.
They're discriminating each other?
It must be diversity that's discriminating against them. Oof.
We need to dig deeper into this.
Yes, yeah. Diversity scientists need to get to the root of where the white supremacy is coming from when white people aren't supreme in a place.
Yes. Who is oppressing Afro-Caribbean people in Leicester, which
Yes.
is not a predominantly white area?
Yes.
Let's find that out.
That's a great question. And then finally they have Maz Mashru, who's a world-renowned photographer of, Hollywood stars, world leaders, famous singers, and says...
like Bill Cosby.
He does a little bit. He was an Asian Ugandan administrator from the empire, or his parents were. And he says, quote, "Leicester is the most harmonious city in all of Europe."
Okay.
I guess he doesn't follow the news.
How does he define harmonious?
Well, I presume that means people getting along well with one another. He doesn't give a proper definition.
I haven't seen that.
No one's seen that. But anyway, before we get to the harmony about Leicester, let's just use the Guardian's framing again. Super diverse. Diversity is a beautiful thing. It's just beautiful.
Is that actual news, or is that just them pushing their agenda?
Well, it's obviously them pushing their agenda. I mean, this isn't news. News, breaking news. The Guardian thinks diversity is great. But again, they use the term super diverse. Again, note the positive language. It's not just diverse.
They're still using the term BAME. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that was out of fashion for being racist.
Yeah, again, and anyone that's not white is part of this homogenous group.
Yes.
Let's celebrate that.
Yes, like LGBT, it's just an abstract coalition against the straights. BAME is an abstract coalition against the whites.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is they say, they're talking about Birmingham. The census confirmed what Birmingham Council always knew about the makeup of the population. They said the data was crucial in informing central government when allocating resources so the city could get our fair share of funding and support to give everyone a chance to prosper and succeed.
Again, what does that mean? Do certain racial demographics need different kinds of supports?
I guess they must. But interestingly, it's Gibbs. Can we have some money, please?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, no, I don't want you all to have money. Anyone to have money. You know, white, black,
You don't
blue.
want anyone to have money.
No, handouts from the state. I'm very much against the welfare state and state handouts at the moment. And
Well, the welfare state should be a security net. It should be a backup
Yes.
option for people so they don't fall through the gaps and end up on the streets.
Yes, it shouldn't be
not
a primary
there to
choice.
make people dependent on the state.
yes, exactly. Anyway, so let's go on to the not so good news about Leicester. It's Britain's hub of modern slavery.
Right? I'm not surprised.
It's very diverse, very inclusive. Andrew Bridgen, who's an MP for Leicestershire, told Sky News that he thinks there's a conspiracy of silence that has allowed factories to continue exploit the workers over many years, with 10,000 people working in slave-like conditions in textile factories. When they say slave-like conditions, what they mean is people who are unable to leave because often they're illegal immigrants. They're being paid way below minimum wage, sort of £2 an hour. And they have no workers' rights or human rights or anything of the sort. Yeah. And so it is effectively
stuck in the system.
They're stuck in the system. They live in tiny accommodations. Yeah. They've got no money, no freedom to be able to leave.
It's just wicked.
It is absolutely wicked, and it's as they say, modern slavery. And this is not new. This has been going on for years now. In 2018, one organisation reported that 75% of the workers in Leicester textile factories were paid below minimum wage and without employment contracts. Again, totally illegal, but I mean, if they're here...
Who's perpetrating this?
Well, it's the very diverse... Leicester East is the very diverse area of Leicester.
So is that why they're getting away with it? Similar to why the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs are getting away with it, because they don't want to rock the boat of multiculturalism and diversity.
And also massive amounts of corruption. So you've got the political angle and the corruption angle. We'll get to the corruption in a second, actually. The working conditions are, of course, atrocious, and many of them have poor English language ability. So it's diversity on diversity criminality.
This is why having one culture is important. If everyone coming to live in England spoke the English language, they would be freer than these slaves who are stuck because they can't communicate.
They would be able to go to the police and explain their problem.
Exactly.
But it wasn't real slavery.
Oh.
No, investigators looked into it. No, there's no slavery, bro.
Which
what we've uncovered are low wages and safety issues.
Okay.
It's not real slavery. It's just almost slavery. Of course, Andrew Bridgen was like, no, this is what we mean by slavery in the modern era.
Yeah. Well, call it whatever you like. That's still not okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so the the idea, they're like, well, it's not real slavery. It's like, okay, great. Get
on with it, carry on.
There weren't any chain gangs,
Yeah.
But anyway, Andrew Bridgen is described as the Wild West of modern slavery, saying that as many as 500,000 people may be working illegally in the UK in these conditions. He says, not the Leicester East, it's the Wild West.
Well, at least he's speaking up against this.
Yes.
We need more of that. The problem is that the governments have been complicit in a lot of this stuff for a long time. I say governments because it's Labour and the Conservatives.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing I really don't get about all of this conversation we've had today, is that Labour may have started this, they may have pushed the mass immigration agenda, but the Conservative government have been going along with it and increasing it.
Yeah.
They've done even worse.
It's insufferable. They're just I just cannot understand for the life of me why it's just a lone Conservative MP who's just like, guys, maybe we should have less slavery in Leicester. Yeah. And it's just deaf ears. Everyone's like, don't know what you're talking about.
Slavery.
Yeah, it's not real slavery, bro. I just can't understand it. But apparently Leicester East is being run like an Al Capone mafia state, according to the Centre for Social Justice. And this is just mad. Like, It's absolutely crazy. So local corruption, as they say, covered up the modern slavery. The corruption was found to operate in every part of the constituency of Leicester East, including the police, the electoral roll, the fire brigade, the local councillors. They were all implicated. It's so entrenched that one witness described it as an Al Capone mafia state.
So it's exactly like what's going on in Rotherham, Telford,
Yeah.
Rochdale, and all these places with the Pakistani Muslim grape gangs.
Yeah, and it just turns out this is something that is intrinsic to Labour-run areas, it seems.
Fancy that.
Yeah, if you can believe it. Ian Duncan Smith said, "What has been created is a lawless state with corruption at every level, getting passports, immigration status, even false driving licenses. Far too little has been done, and alongside these are benefit fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering, all opening the door to voter fraud." Yeah, but who cares? Apparently, that's one Conservative, or two Conservatives now. Why the majority Conservative Parliament isn't doing something about this
Yeah.
is beyond me.
Because they are afraid of being seen as the nasty party. Of being
The
seen as
nasty party.
The racist party.
They're being racist against criminals, guys. But I mean, Leicester is deeply corrupt. So, I mean, this is from, I think, 2018, this next one. Yeah, 2018, where there were allegations made against Leicester City Council of just taking bribes. Just rampant bribery. Everyone involved, basically.
What's going on in our country?
It's madness, isn't it? But I mean, this was all happening under the brilliant leadership of Claudia Webb.
Oh gosh.
You a fan of Claudia Webb? Independent
I love her.
MP?
She's one of the best comedians on television these days.
Yeah, you may remember that she got booted out of the Labour Party for being convicted of threatening to throw acid in her boyfriend's lover's face.
Yeah, and anyone who states that on social media, she says, "I'll file a libel suit against you." She's hilarious.
But you were literally convicted for
Yeah,
it.
she was.
You know, and like I said, that was what got her expelled from the Labour
And
Party.
she lost the whip, yeah, but she refused to stand down.
Yeah. But if you can get to the next one, John, you can see that she remains MP for Leicester East, but as an independent member of Parliament, as she's been suspended by the party. And the person who occupied the Leicester East seat before her was Keith Vaz, who stepped down in
the washing
2019
machine guy.
because he stood down after a rent, boy and drug scandal and had been suspended from the party after being charged with harassment. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah
Yeah, it
over
is.
in Leicester East.
Well, it's the Labour Party as well. How many of them are convicted criminals now?
Well, a remarkable amount, actually.
For our elected representatives, we should expect better, shouldn't we?
Should, yes, do, no.
No, we get the politicians we deserve.
Yes, I agree. She lost her appeal. She appealed to that, but she only got a slap on the wrist. 80 hours of community service and £50 compensation to the victim. I wonder who she bribed, frankly.
I don't think she needed to.
Yeah. But things are so peaceful in Leicester. You remember the Leicester unrest of this year?
Oh, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. Where after a cricket match between India and Pakistan,
Religious riots.
yes, that's exactly right. You have the Hindutuv, I can't pronounce these words, movement, and of course Islamists marching through the street, chanting death to each other.
I wonder what brought that on and how we could have prevented it.
Yeah, Allahu Akbar, long live Pakistan, Modi is a dog. And of course you had Hindus on the other side basically screaming the same thing about Pakistan. It's like, okay, that's lovely. And of course this led to literally a week of violence.
We're literally importing foreign civil war.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly. I mean, you remember the damage that the partition of India and Pakistan did, millions dead. And then everyone was like, the British are responsible for this. How could they let us do this to each other?
So we were like, yeah, we were responsible. Come and bring it over here.
Yeah. One local university professor in Leicester, the University of Leicester, says that the problem affects the whole city, not just its Hindu and Muslim communities, which is very harmonious.
Well, that is quite harmonious because they're all at war. I actually think what harmonious means is just more brown.
I
Not
think
necessarily getting on with each other, but more brown.
Yeah, that it must. It must mean that.
It's always aesthetic, isn't it?
Yes, and the BBC put out a wonderful article being like, "Oh, this was such a surprise." It's like, really, it's a surprise that Hindu nationalists and Muslim nationalists fight each other.
Who does the BBC speak for when it says was surprising to many?
That's a great question, actually. They say that Leicester has had a reputation as a model for social cohesion, and so this unrest is remarkable. Well, they begin with the 1947 partition of India. That's their model, apparently. But one professor says it's very disappointing that one of the cities where multiculturalism has taken root has had these scarring events.
But again, they just make these claims. I don't know how they're allowed to do this without backing it up. Leicester had a reputation as a model for cohesion. A reputation amongst who?
BBC journos.
Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just don't
multicultural
understand
advocates.
we've seen this a few times, like how our media is allowed to push an agenda without backing up with no evidence whatsoever. Yeah. It's just, this is what we believe. You should believe it too.
Yes. I mean, on the plus side, at least many, many millions of people are deeply skeptical of the BBC now. That's the one upshot of this, is that, you can only lie for so long before people start realizing,
that's not a good thing.
It's not good.
We need a good BBC. We need a good public broadcaster. They're not it.
They are trading on a reputation they no longer deserve.
Yeah.
At all. But yeah, so I think Leicester is a perfect example of how diversity is our strength, and a wonderful case study in the benefits of immigration.
Diversity is literally the opposite of our strength in any element of life, any aspect of life. Like, you want people that share your goals, share your objectives, share your culture, whatever it is. In sport, you want people who are good at the same sport as you. Like, it doesn't matter where you're looking in life. Diversity is a downfall.
Unity and cooperation is where strength comes from.
Yeah.
People acting together in common cause.
Absolutely.
That's what strength is derived from. And you can see that from World War I, World War II. And like you say, if diversity means the kind of atomization of all things into their own self-interest groups, then whose strength is that founded on? Because it's not founded on the strength of those communities, but it must be the sort of globalist
well, it is the politicians saying diversity is our strength. They mean R as in their own, not
exactly.
ours, the big R.
Yeah, who's included in the our here?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel very included in it.
Well, we're seeing the same thing, aren't we? The US government, the UK government, the Canadian governments are all saying we need to increase immigration because this will help our GDP. First of all, I don't know why GDP is the focus of a government.
Yeah.
It should be the well-being of the people, the security of the people, not the GDP. But secondly, if mass immigration improves the GDP, and we've had nothing but mass immigration, in fact, we've had record mass immigration for the last few years, how is our economy not in a better place?
Yeah, the GDP, aren't we on the brink of a recession at the moment?
Like, it hasn't been working. Let's try harder. Let's do more of it. What hasn't been working? Keep doing it until it works. That is madness.
Literally the definition of madness, actually, yes. But yeah, anyway, so that's Leicester. How wonderful a place it is.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the premium articles we do, this one on how to avoid cancellation Philly style, with an audio track for silver and gold tier members, of course. If you'd like to find out what else is putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.